What's up, everybody? It's your boy Crazy Out Cayne, sugarcane.com, CACTV. We're here at the Razor booth upstairs at Toy Fair 2016. We have a legendary BMXer right here, Billy Griggs, representing, and he does a lot more than that. He makes some really innovative stuff at Razor. He's going to let us know all about it.
All right, well, new for 2016, we've got the RSF 650, the Razor Street Fighter 650. It's a kind of a naked bike inspired styling. You might recognize some style cues from like Triumph or Ducati, Buell maybe a little bit. What's been really fun with this project is that it gives us an opportunity to have a street style version of an electric motorcycle to kind of complement our MX 650, 500 and SX 500 McGrath models. You know, the other really neat thing about this position is that a little kid can get a dirt bike that fits him and go out with his dad in the desert and ride, but you don't have that with street bikes. So finding a bike that looks as much like dad's as possible that he can ride around in his front yard, that was a neat hole for us. And you know, we've had some other success with some products for the street too. Our Pocket Mod, which is a Vespa styled type bike, that has been really popular. So it's tended to be a little more gender biased though towards the girls. So this is really a neat position for us to get this bike in. You know, I think we've been abandoning the street style for the boys, keeping it more dirt off-road stuff. But with the success of our Ground Force Drifter, and we just won Toy of the Year at Outdoor Toy of the Year with the Ground Force Fury this weekend. So that was kind of a neat victory for Razor. But we've got a lot of street-inspired stuff, but we needed to get something with two wheels. So we're looking for big success with this year. So this will hit you about 15, 16 miles an hour. Runs for about an hour. You know, it depends on how hard you ride it and what your terrain's like. I mean, if you got hills and stuff, you're going to burn the battery up quick. But as far as just like kind of riding it around in your neighborhood and stuff, you should be able to get a full hour out of it. And then, you're looking at probably a couple hours for a charge. Once it's had its initial 4-hour charge, you can put this thing on the charger for a couple hours and be able to get back out on it again. It's also possible to buy your own. We don't do this particularly, but you can figure out your own second set of batteries. There's nothing on here that's not available in a lot of different places. Standard 12-volt batteries, you need 2 of them, and you can set up your own, kind of like you would with an RC car, where you've got replacement batteries. You just do the quick swap. So we don't make it too hard on you, to swap them out. We kind of design the batteries in a way on some of the newer products so that it's easier for you to swap them out.
And have you tried to wheelie these?
I try to keep the wheelies to the BMX bikes because, for one thing, because of safety regulations, we have to have a brake cutoff switch. So when you pull the brake lever, it cuts off the power. And so anybody that knows how to do a wheelie knows that you need to kind of have that power versus brake versus balance kind of thing, So, on something if I rode it every single day, I could probably figure out how to do a brakeless wheelie on it. But, I'm old school, man. I need my brakes when I wheelie. So, I've seen these new kids that can get out there and manual all the way down the street, and they don't even have brakes on their bikes. So, they got 13-inch chainstays though too. So, still running my stuff at 15 1/4. So, nice. I think our new power core technology, which we've gone with our scooters, we've got the new E90 power core, and what's really cool about this is it's a internal geared hub motor, so it eliminates the chain and sprockets, and so that solves a lot of problems with chain alignment, and it just simplifies the whole system, and it also works out to be a more inexpensive item for us. So it's just kind of like futuristic stuff. It's the next generation of hopefully eliminating chains and sprockets on little scooters.
Now I have a question. You posted something recently on Facebook that I didn't know. It was at a trade show, maybe Interbike or something like that. You had like a full pedal bike that looked like a motocross bike. It was crazy.
Yeah,
what was that all about?
Well, so back in 1999, that was Interbike, what's interesting is that, this is my first trade show. In the 13 years I've worked for Razor, this is the first time I've come to the trade show on their behalf. But I do have a lot of trade show experience back in the day with GT and my couple of years at Intense. So the nice thing about that is that I was an easy guy to slip in here. when we needed an extra body for this place. But the McGrath bike was something that we had done because GT was sponsoring him, and we were looking for a way to get him to come to the booth to sign autographs. And so the idea that we could build that bike, because Interbike's always had this competition of sort of bikes that I guess have to be concept pieces, and it's kind of this unofficial trophy you would win for having the best one. And we decided, hey, we got Jeremy in the booth, we're going to build this thing. And it was just kind of a hodgepodge of a lot of different technologies at GT. It had some mountain bike forks on it, mountain bike suspension system. It was rideable. That was one thing I always said about building concept bikes. I'm going to be able to ride it, So it was rideable. I mean, it wasn't like track worthy. You wouldn't jump it or anything like that. But it was just because we had a relationship with Jeremy, and we thought, let's make a BMX bike that looks as much like his, at the time, YZ250 as possible.
So, Billy Griggs, BMX legend, really known for his years at Redline. Redline was like some really good years. What was your favorite Redline model to race with back in the day?
Probably a free agent limo. Honestly, I struggled on the Redline stuff from day one. The 5-inch head tube, the high bottom bracket, the kickback seat tube. I mean, all that stuff was a little bit of a chore for me. So, really things turned around when I got on the free agent limo and got moving. So.
Well, actually, what was the length on that? What was the top tube length on that bike?
It was 21, and that was 1988 when I got that. So, yeah.
That's like 1988, a 21 top tube. That's very rare for back then.
That was very, very rare at the time, and the change I made was 3 inches. I went from a 19-inch top tube bike to a 21-inch top tube bike in one fell swoop. So, and the results were instant. Yeah.
I actually just got on a bike with a 21.7 top tube, and that changed my life actually as a rider. Like I feel so much more comfortable. Like I thought a 21 would feel comfortable, but 21.7 just changed everything for me. So you started racing again, and you also are sponsored by Razor. So tell me about how that came about and how it is racing nowadays.
Well, this Razor sponsorship was kind of interesting because when I went into the Hall of Fame in 2013, they were cool enough that they sponsored one of the tables, and 10 of my coworkers came down to support, and that was really a neat deal that they did that. And I don't think that anybody really knew that I was planning to race that race. A couple of my close coworkers did, because honestly, I didn't even know for really a couple of weeks out if I was actually going to race it or not. The idea sounded great, but man, I hadn't been on a bike in 13 years, competitively, so I didn't know if I was going to do it or not. And as it turned out, I got down there and did it, and I got a third in 41 over X at the time, on Sunday. And when I came back to the office, I kind of had to I think I'll race a little bit more. And then kind of word had bounced around a little bit that I had actually raced the event. And when some of our higher ups got wind that I was racing, that kind of the conversation just loosely started happening about, hey, if you race anymore, it's be a neat opportunity for us to sponsor you and put our logo on you out in a sport that's full of kids. Even though we don't necessarily make BMX bikes, that's it's a much bigger picture than that. One of the common questions is Razor going to make BMX bikes? And the answer is definitely no, because we don't want to single ourselves out. We like that our brand is a lifestyle brand for kids, and if we start making BMX bikes, now we're kind of alienating any kid that loves his S squared or his Star or whatever bike, Black Crown, whatever bike he's riding. Now maybe he's going to think twice about wanting a Razor something else, because he loves, if Razor's a BMX brand, now we're kind of competing against his favorite brand. So we're kind of in there just to be the hey man, we know kids are going to do something besides BMX, and we want that thing that they do besides BMX to be a Razor item. The Jeremy McGrath SX500, that's a great item for BMX kids. They relate to Jeremy. He's, the king of Supercross. Every BMX kid would love to be, on a motorcycle. So I think that's a great item. The Crazy Cart has that spinning out, kind of drifting sort of thing. I mean, it's fast and it's exciting. So BMX kids are, they're a step above, because they race BMX. They've got the go for it in them because they're into BMX. That already sets them apart from maybe our general kick scooter customers. So for us to be able to offer items like the new RSF 650 and our go-karts and stuff, it's cool to have something that's a little more worthy of a BMX kid. Of course, they all still love their scooters too. I see them alive and well every time I go to a race. Racing again's been great. I mean, of course, having the support of Razor to get to races that I wouldn't necessarily go to gave me some really neat opportunity this past season to get back to trackside raced at when I was a kid back on CW and Mongoose. So I raced at Nashville, and I went to Louisville, and I went to Rockford this past year. And if I didn't have the Razor support, I probably wouldn't do that. And so it's just been really neat. It's been great to be able to represent the brand, in various places of the country. Razor being a California company, we're a worldwide brand, but we're based in California. So for me to get back to some of these events and be able to see what the kids in Chicago or Nashville or Louisville are kind of doing in between motos, it's maybe some of it's different than what they're doing in California or Arizona or Utah, or, the states that most of the Western guys will go race.
Who have you seen on the circuit from back in the day that you raced, and how was that experience?
Well, I think probably the guy that I raced the most that I race now is Sean O'Gorman, for the fact that, he was around when we were 15, 16 years old. And Eric Roop, he's about 5 years older than me, I think. So our overlap in the pro class didn't really happen. Of course, we were teammates on Mongoose, so we had traveled together and, knew each other back then. But when I turned pro in '88, he was kind of nearing the end of his AA career. So, we never really got to race too hard against each other back then because, he was just on his way out, and, we really didn't have too many knockdown dragouts, where this past year we've had some opportunities to really hash it out because, like you said, he never stopped, and he is flat out awesome. As far as the, senior elder riders go, Eric Roop is, and in a lot of ways he was one of the guys too. I think watching him and Harry Larry both being guys that were top pros when I was like a 15-year-old expert, having those guys out there and having the opportunity to race them and seeing them still race again, that was a lot of my motivation to start racing again. When I saw that Stu and Eric and Harry were still out there riding, I thought, man, I should give it a go. I saw how much fun it was for them. And so, but Swifty and Eric have been really fun to race again. I'm still waiting for Mikey King and Eric Carter, and I know Brian Lopes would be fierce if he showed up. So because he's a phenomenal athlete. So it would be neat to get a 90s pro main event together one night where every dude in the 46 and over expert night, main that night was at one point a 90s pro. That'd be really cool. I don't know if those guys will all do it. They're, I wish they would, but they've got their own plenty going on as it is. So,
Real quick, how are the tracks in comparison now than they were back in the day?
I hadn't formed an opinion about the direction BMX had gone when all the years I was not riding. I was aware, because of my bike building and work I had done with the Olympians in 2008, that sport had evolved quite a bit. So for me, I like the tracks. I always wished for more jumps. I guess if I was going to say anything about the more jumps that we have now, is that it's kind of a bummer that you don't have at least one good jump on every track, where jumping it is like the way to do it, the like definite way to do it. Some of the tracks, like, there's definitely jumps at Louisville and Nashville that if you don't jump it, you're at a deficit. But when they build the track, they don't. There's no incentive to jump something. I'll do it if I have the time to, or if it's whatever, not the main event. I do it because I'm just comfortable doing that. But even though there's more jumps, they're jumps that are designed for you to stay on the ground, and so that's kind of I wish that was a little bit different. I do like the rhythm sections, though. I do like the skill level that takes for timing, and You know, you really can see two guys go into a rhythm section together and they both go through it pumping their brains out. And you do get to see who the better rider is, you know? I mean, whether they're jumping anything or not, I mean, it still comes down to who the best skilled rider is. I mean, you know, it's physically very demanding. People do say that, when I say people, I mean the people that are old school, that don't ride anymore, that say, oh, you don't have to pedal in BMX anymore. It's not an athlete's sport. I promise you, my old ass pumped through some rhythm sections when I first started riding again, and I thought, man, I need to train because it's tiring. I mean, pump races and pump tracks, we had pump tracks back in the 80s in the backyard, me and Eric Carter, before a pump track, anyone knew what a pump track was. And we had started doing pump laps because we realized, hey, this is going to help our fitness a ton. So it's not a free ride pumping through those jumps by any means. So, but, you know, as far as the bikes go, you know, the bikes are pretty much the same geometry-wise. They have seemed to have gotten a lot more refined to the point where everybody's bikes are very similar. Bottom brackets seem to be about 11.5 everywhere you go. Head angles are 74 degrees everywhere you go. So the variation is like top tube and chainstay. Of course, seat angle doesn't matter anymore because nobody runs their seat up. So, well, I still do a little bit because I still use it on the inside of my leg, you know. It's just, old dog's got some new tricks, but not all new tricks. Yeah, it's not
Wait, speaking of that, was it like a tabletop X up 1 footer? You still doing those?
No, I'm not still doing those. When I started racing again, I went out to Sheep Hills a couple of times, and you know, I threw the bike sideways a little bit on some of that stuff because you got the time for it. But you know, to be perfectly honest with you, there's just not that much opportunity to get up in the air, and when you do have it, you're clipped in. And for me, that's still fairly new, riding a BMX bike clipped in. And as much as I had ridden clip shoes on my mountain bike, I mean, it's a different deal on a BMX bike for me. So I'm still not super comfortable trying to do anything too wild, but I don't know, even with flat pedals, if I'd be doing that stuff, you know. I don't bounce quite like I used to. I hit the ground twice hard this year and got up from both of them and didn't have too much trouble afterwards, but the reality is I really like racing. I love jumping, and I'll try to throw it sideways where I can, but the 1 footer, X-up stuff, I'd probably, you know, just make sure that, you know, what they say about athletes, the best ability is availability. So you know, I think that I'll try to keep the bike just, you know, in a comfort zone. Yeah, this is Billy Griggs, BMX racer for Razor Worldwide, here at the 2016 New York Toy Fair, representing for Cayne.com. Back to you, me.